Mr. Theurer, as rapporteur, how you feel, isn't it a bit inviting for the companies to look for tax avoidance if there is such a remarkable variety of tax systems within the European Union?
The major question really was, why did companies seek for this aggressive tax planning? And of course, a manager has the duty to serve the shareholders. So the major finding of our inquiry was that it is a combination of 28 over-complex tax systems which is naturally creating some loopholes which can be used by those who find the loopholes or who can afford very good consultants who do know where the loopholes are, and therefore we recommend that in a common European market with freedom of capital movement that there should be introduced a framework legislation which will prevent in future that these loopholes are existing.
How quick this legislation can be created, and do you think that there will be consensus about implementing it?
First of all, if there is a political will, it can be created quite quickly. Therefore, we hope that the Commission will come forward with some legislative proposals. And there is one blueprint. In Switzerland, for instance, the cantons are autonomous in tax questions. But in Switzerland, as early as 1954, there was introduced a common consolidated corporate tax base and an automatic information exchange. And these are the instruments the European Commission will propose or already has proposed. And now the question is pending at the member states in the EU Council. And we would like, as a European Parliament, to push the member states to come forward and to speed up to stop unfair tax competition.
Switzerland is a relatively small country, but European Union is more than 500 million people. Do you think it's realistic to take over the Swiss model and introduce it, impose it onto European Union?
Big or small, fact is, if there are tax autonomous entities in one single market with the freedom of capital movement, you have to create a framework legislation. Otherwise, you would undermine the level playing field, and there will be distortions in competitions. And that is my major concern, that small and medium-sized enterprises are paying taxes, and sometimes very high taxes, whereas others, like multinational companies and enterprises, can avoid the taxes, and they have a huge advantage, and that is not okay and should be stopped immediately.
Wouldn't this legislation be to disadvantage of European tax shareholders, because it will provoke most probably the flee of capital to the havens, to the tax havens?
That is a question which must be addressed very frankly and very openly, because indeed we need also a regulation to prevent that the money flows out to tax havens. And indeed the question of international competitiveness has to be put on the agenda as well. But the answer cannot be that some multinational companies do not pay taxes, avoid taxes, and the small and medium-sized companies and a usual citizen pays taxes. So the answer would then be that we have to lower the tax burden for the usual citizen and for the SMEs, and we still wait for the governments to come forward with proposals, and they never proposed that. No, they accepted the tax avoidance of multinational companies and stuck where all the SMEs, and we would like to stop that.